The spiritual community has completely brainwashed you into believing that you must be full of positive emotion, love, and light to manifest money. This toxic positivity is exactly what is keeping you broke. Today, as a teacher of Neville Goddard, I am going to reveal the dark, uncompromising secret of reality creation. I am going to teach you the psychopath mindset. I will show you exactly how becoming completely, ruthlessly emotionally dead to your current physical poverty is the only way to force millions of dollars to manifest in your life almost overnight. If you are exhausted from faking a smile while drowning in debt, and you are ready to learn the cold, calculated psychopathic posture of the master who dictates the rules of the universe, subscribe to this channel right now. The illusion of your poverty dies today, and your absolute dominion begins right in this exact microsecond. I want you to take a deep breath and completely reconsider everything you think you know about the physical world. Look around you right now. Look at the room you're sitting in. Look at the clothes you're wearing and think about the exact amount of money you currently have in your wallet. Your deeply conditioned human brain is desperately trying to convince you that these physical things are real. Your brain is telling you that your empty bank account is an undeniable, solid fact that you must react to. Your brain is lying to you. The physical world, the three-dimensional matrix that you call your life, is absolutely nothing more than a dead, delayed mirror. It is a completely sterile, powerless reflection of your past states of consciousness. I want you to imagine standing in your bathroom, looking into a physical mirror on the wall. If you stand in front of that mirror with a sad, depressed look on your face, the mirror has absolutely no choice but to reflect a sad, depressed person back to you. The mirror has no free will, the mirror has no brain, no creativity, and no power to change the image. If you want the reflection in the mirror to smile, what do you have to do? You have to smile first. You are the operant power. You are the source of the image. The mirror simply obeys. But what exactly are you doing with your financial reality every single day? You are behaving like an absolute lunatic, standing in front of the bathroom mirror. You are looking at your empty bank account, which is just a dead reflection. You are crying tears of absolute desperation, and you are screaming at the mirror, begging it to smile first. You are waiting for the physical world to give you money so that you can finally feel wealthy. You are demanding that the dead glass create something new. This is physical and spiritual insanity. The physical world cannot give you wealth because the physical world is just a mirror. It can only reflect the wealth that you have already generated inside the invisible quantum field of your own imagination. When you cry over a bill, when you panic over a negative bank balance, you are submitting your supreme divine authority to a piece of dead glass. You are letting the reflection dictate the emotions of the Creator. Neville Goddard was relentlessly clear about this brutal truth. He said that the entire three-dimensional world is a dead garment. It is an old, discarded skin. It has no life of its own. It only appears to be alive because you keep feeding it the blood of your emotional reactions. To truly understand why your current poverty is a complete hallucination, you must understand the massive illusion of real time. The greatest trick the universe ever played on the human mind was making you believe that the physical events happening around you right now are actually happening right now. They are not. Nothing you see in your physical reality is fresh. Nothing is new. Everything in your three-dimensional world is a delayed echo. It is a ghost from the past. I want you to think about how light travels through space. When you look up at the night sky and see a star, you are not actually seeing that star as it exists in this exact microsecond, because that star is millions of light years away. The light you are seeing right now actually left that star millions of years ago. You are looking into the deep past. That star might have exploded and died a million years ago, but because of the delay in the speed of light, you are still seeing it shining brightly in your sky. You are looking at a ghost. Your physical reality operates on the exact same principle of delay. When you assume a state of consciousness, whether it is a state of massive wealth or a state of terrifying poverty, it takes time for that invisible assumption to harden into physical, three-dimensional fact. Therefore, the empty bank account you are crying about today was not created today. The debt you are stressed about today was not created today. The poverty you are experiencing right now is simply the delayed physical echo of the anxiety, fear, and lack that you felt in your imagination weeks, months, or even years ago. Your current poverty is nothing but the physical vomit of your past state of consciousness. It is dead material. It is the light from a star that has already died. Why would you ever cry over something that is already dead? Why would you let a ghost from your past control your emotional state in the present? When you finally understand this, the heavy, suffocating burden of the three-dimensional world completely falls off your shoulders. You stop looking at your bills as terrifying threats, and you start looking at them as boring, expired receipts. I want you to deeply internalize the metaphor of the grocery store receipt. Imagine that a month ago you went to a terrible, cheap grocery store. You were feeling broke, so you bought the worst, most unhealthy, cheapest food available. You paid for the food, and the cashier handed you a printed paper receipt. Now, imagine that today, you pull that old receipt out of your pocket. You look at the printed ink on the paper, and you suddenly become furious. You start screaming at the piece of paper. You demand that the ink magically rearrange itself to say that you bought expensive caviar, organic vegetables, and premium champagne. If someone saw you screaming at a printed receipt, they would think you had lost your mind. The receipt is just printed ink on dead paper. It is a finalized record of a past transaction. It cannot change itself. If you want a receipt that says caviar and champagne, you cannot scream at the old paper. You have to go back to the store, change your purchasing decisions, buy the expensive food, and allow the machine to print a brand new receipt. Your entire three-dimensional life is a printed grocery receipt. Your bank account is a receipt. Your car is a receipt. Your living situation is a receipt. Every single thing you see around you is just dead ink on a piece of paper, confirming the state of consciousness you purchased in the past. When you complain about your lack of money, when you panic about your debt, you are screaming at a dead piece of paper. You are trying to force the dry ink to magically change its shape. You cannot manipulate the three-dimensional world to get rich. You cannot force the mirror to smile. You must completely turn your back on the old dead receipt. You must stop giving it your emotional energy. You must walk back into the quantum kitchen of your imagination. You must assume the state of the multi-millionaire, and you must confidently wait for the universe to print your brand new receipt. The physical world is entirely dead, and the moment you stop treating it like it is alive, it loses all of its terrifying power over you. We must now completely dissect the exact psychological and biological prison that is keeping you trapped in this endless, agonizing cycle of financial suffering. I call this the fatal reaction loop. If the physical world is just a dead mirror, and if your current bank account is just an expired grocery receipt from the past, then why does your reality never change? Why do you keep experiencing the exact same lack of money, month after agonizing month? The answer is incredibly simple, and it is entirely your fault. You are trapped in the reaction loop. You are constantly feeding the dead mirror with your living emotional energy. The cycle works exactly like this. You wake up in the morning and you look at your physical circumstances. You open your banking app, you see a negative balance, and you receive an email about a bill you cannot pay. The mirror is reflecting your past assumption of poverty. But instead of ignoring the dead reflection, instead of turning your back on the expired receipt, you give the reflection your complete and total emotional attention. You feel a massive surge of panic. You feel terrified, helpless, and completely broke. Because the quantum field is a flawless mechanical mirror that only says yes to your dominant state of consciousness, it immediately takes your new reaction of panic, accepts it as a brand new command, and begins printing a brand new receipt for the future. You looked at the poverty of the past, you reacted to it with fear in the present, and therefore you mathematically guaranteed that you will experience the exact same poverty in the future. You are a hamster running on a terrifying wheel of your own creation. You are continually vomiting out your own fear, and then you are continually eating it again the very next day. You must break the reaction loop, or you will die broke. You must completely internalize the absolute golden rule of Neville Goddard. Circumstances do not matter. I need you to burn this phrase into your brain until it becomes the only truth you know. Circumstances do not matter. It does not matter how much debt you are in today. It does not matter if your credit cards are maxed out or if you have absolutely no idea how you are going to pay your rent next week. These physical facts are completely irrelevant to your ultimate financial destiny because these physical facts are made of old clay. They have no creative power. The only thing that matters, the only thing that dictates your future, is how you choose to react to the old clay right now in this exact microsecond. When you try to fix your financial problems by working 14 hours a day, taking out more loans, and desperately fighting your physical circumstances, you are standing in front of the dead mirror and violently punching the glass. You are breaking your own hands trying to shatter a reflection. The master does not fight the mirror. The master simply changes their own face. The master changes their internal assumption, and they completely withdraw all of their emotional reaction from the dead circumstances. When you stop reacting to the poverty, you stop feeding it. When you withdraw your emotional attention from your massive debt, you are literally starving the debt to death. A physical reality cannot survive if you do not feed it the blood of your emotional reaction. The exact moment you look at a terrifying bill and you feel absolutely nothing, the old reality begins to violently collapse because it no longer has a fuel source. But I know exactly what your logical mind is screaming right now. I know the exact invisible barrier that is stopping you from doing this. You understand intellectually that the three-dimensional world is an illusion. You understand that you are supposed to ignore your empty bank account. But when you actually try to do it in real life, when you hold that unpaid bill in your hands, you completely fail. You cannot ignore it. You cannot stop reacting. Why? Because you are fighting a massive biological war inside your own physical vessel, and you are losing. You cannot simply ignore the three-dimensional world because your physical body is violently wired for absolute survival. When you look at a negative bank balance, your primitive animal brain does not understand that it is just a number on a screen. Your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, perceives that lack of money as an immediate, life-threatening danger. Your primitive brain thinks that the unpaid electric bill is a hungry lion standing right in front of you, getting ready to tear you apart. In a fraction of a second, your nervous system is hijacked. Your brain floods your bloodstream with cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart starts pounding against your ribs. Your breathing becomes shallow, your muscles tense up, and you are instantly thrown into a state of violent fight or flight. You cannot outthink a nervous system that is fighting for its life. You cannot sit on your couch, with your heart racing at 100 beats per minute, drowning in survival hormones, and casually convince yourself that you are a multi-millionaire who does not care about the physical world. It is biologically impossible. Your body is screaming that you are about to die of starvation, and you are trying to use a manifestation technique as a band-aid for a bullet wound. This is exactly why 99% of the people who study the law of assumption never actually get rich. They try to change their psychological state while their physical body is trapped in a biological nightmare. You will never, ever, be able to look at the dead mirror with the cold, psychopathic apathy of the master until you manually turn off the survival alarm inside your physical hardware. You must force your nervous system to realize that the unpaid bill is not a lion. Because this biological trap is the ultimate destroyer of your massive wealth. I absolutely refuse to leave you defenseless against your own primitive brain. I want you to pause and look directly below this video in the pinned comment section. I have left a vital, life-saving physical protocol there for you. It is entirely designed to override your hijacked amygdala, completely regulate your dysregulated nervous system, and instantly flush the terrifying survival hormones out of your bloodstream. It bypasses your addicted, panicked mind and forces your physical cells into a state of absolute, undeniable safety. Go to the pinned comment and use this protocol to manually turn off your biological radar. When your body finally feels safe, the desperate, agonizing need to react to your physical circumstances will instantly evaporate. You will look at your empty bank account and your heart rate will not change. You will look at the debt and your chest will remain completely relaxed. When the physical panic is gone, the reaction loop is completely destroyed and you are finally free to assume the silent, arrogant posture of the creator. Once your physical vessel is entirely regulated and the fear has completely vanished from your bloodstream, you are ready to master the ultimate spiritual weapon. You are ready to adopt the psychopath mindset. This mindset is not about being an evil person. It is about the absolute, crushing absence of emotion regarding your physical circumstances. Fake spiritual gurus tell you to be positive all the time, to force a smile, and to chant happy affirmations when your life is falling apart. That is the pathetic behavior of a terrified victim. The true psychopath mindset is the devastating weight of total apathy. When the master receives an unexpected bill, the master does not try to force a happy smile. The The master does not try to convince themselves that the bill is a blessing in disguise. The master simply looks at the piece of paper with the cold, dead eyes of a billionaire who could not possibly care less. You must treat your current physical poverty like an incredibly boring movie that you have already seen 100 times. You know the acting is bad, you know the plot is terrible, and you already know exactly how it ends. You do not cry during a boring movie. You do not scream at the television screen. You just sit there completely unbothered, waiting for the scene to change. You must forcibly drag your consciousness into this exact same state of operations regarding your money. You must kill the frightened reactor inside of you. The reactor is the identity that constantly takes the temperature of the physical world to see if they are allowed to be happy today. The reactor needs the mirror to smile first. You must fire the reactor today. When you look out into your physical reality, you must completely withdraw all of your emotional life force from the things you see. If you check your bank account and money has arrived, you remain entirely cold and indifferent. You do not celebrate, because you already knew it was yours. If you check your bank account and money has been delayed, you remain entirely cold and indifferent. You treat the entire three-dimensional world like a sterile waiting room. You're just sitting in the chair, totally relaxed, reading a magazine, knowing with absolute certainty that your name is about to be called. The temporary illusions and the meaningless symbols that flash on the screen of your physical life have absolutely no power to alter your heart rate or shake your unbreakable assumption. You do not need the physical mirror to validate your wealth, because you are the only authority that commands reality. You stop feeding the ghost, and you allow the dead reality to quietly collapse into dust. We must now forge your consciousness into the ultimate weapon of reality creation. We must completely eradicate the last remaining traces of your human vulnerability and replace them with the cold, untouchable, and uncompromising state that I call the psychopathic apathy of the master. The word psychopathic usually carries a negative connotation in your society, but in the realm of quantum manifestation, it is the highest spiritual compliment you can ever receive. A psychopath in the three-dimensional world feels no emotional empathy for the people around them. But the spiritual psychopath, the true master of the law of assumption, feels no emotional empathy for the physical circumstances around them. You must become completely and absolutely emotionally dead to your current financial reality. When you look at your empty bank account, you must not feel a single drop of sadness, anger, or even hope. Hope is the emotion of the beggar who is waiting for the mirror to change. You must look at the negative numbers on your screen with the exact same dead, blank, unbothered expression that you would use to stare at a blank brick wall. You must strip the physical world of its false authority. The physical world is a parasite. It survives entirely by feeding on your emotional reactions. When you give the physical world your fear, you are feeding the parasite. When you give the physical world your frustration, you are feeding the parasite. You must starve the parasite to death by refusing to give it even a single drop of your emotional blood. This is the absolute peak of Neville Goddard's teachings. You do not fight the illusion. You do not argue with the illusion. You simply withdraw your life force from it, and you watch it silently crumble into dust. I want you to deeply analyze the exact psychological posture you must assume the next time you are forced to pay a bill when your bank account is practically empty. The beginner in manifestation tries to use toxic positivity. The beginner holds the electric bill, feels a massive knot of anxiety in their stomach, and then forces a fake smile, chanting affirmations about how wealthy they are, desperately trying to convince the universe to save them. The beginner is sweating, shaking, and fighting a violent war against the piece of paper. The master does something entirely different. The master picks up the electric bill and treats it like a piece of fake, brightly colored paper money from a children's board game. I want you to imagine that you are sitting at a table playing the game of Monopoly with your friends. You roll the dice, you land on a property that someone else owns, and you have to hand over some of your fake paper money. Do you start crying? Do you have a panic attack? Do you fall to your knees and beg the plastic banker to forgive your debt? Of course you do not. You hand over the fake money with absolute crushing boredom. You do not care because you know it is just a game. You know the money is not real, you know the board is not real. You know that when the game is over, you are going to stand up from the table, walk away, and return to your actual real life. You must aggressively apply this exact same psychological framework to your current physical poverty. The three-dimensional world is nothing but a temporary, meaningless board game. The bills you have to pay are just fake paper money in a game that you have already won in your imagination. When you transfer money out of your bank account to pay a debt, you do it with the cold, emotionless precision of a player moving a plastic token across a cardboard board. You do not feel the loss, because you know the entire physical transaction is an illusion. Your true wealth, your massive, untouchable millions of dollars, is locked safely in the vault of your four-dimensional consciousness, completely out of reach from the petty rules of the three-dimensional board game. You pay the physical bill, you drop the piece of paper, and you instantly return your focus to the throne of your imagination, entirely unbothered by the temporary rules of the Matrix. To permanently lock this state of psychopathic apathy into your nervous system, you must begin to view your entire physical life as a rerun of a movie you have already seen 100 times. I want you to think about your favorite action movie. The first time you watched it, you were on the edge of your seat. During the climax of the film, when the hero was surrounded by enemies, beaten down, and seemingly about to lose everything, your heart was pounding. You felt genuine anxiety, fear, and suspense because you did not know how the movie was going to end. You were completely invested in the illusion of the drama. But what happens when you watch that exact same movie for the 10th time? When that exact same dangerous scene plays on the screen, your physical heart rate does not elevate by a single beat. You do not feel a drop of fear. You sit on your couch eating popcorn, completely relaxed, watching the hero get beaten down with absolute boredom. Why are you so calm? Because you already possess the absolute knowledge of the ending. You know that in exactly 10 minutes, the hero is going to find a hidden weapon, defeat all the enemies, and walk away completely victorious. The temporary drama on the screen has absolutely no power to manipulate your emotions, because your consciousness is already firmly anchored in the finished fact of the victory. Your current physical life, your empty bank account, your massive debts, and your exhausting job is simply the middle of a movie. You are currently in the scene where the hero looks like they are about to lose. But you are not just the audience. You are the supreme director, the writer, and the executive producer of this entire reality. You have already written the final scene. You have already assumed the state of the multimillionaire. You already know with absolute arrogant certainty that the movie ends with you sitting on a massive pile of wealth, completely free from the chains of the economy. Therefore, when the three-dimensional world tries to scare you with a negative bank balance, you must treat it like the middle of a movie you have already seen. You look at the unpaid bill, you look at the temporary poverty, and you simply eat your popcorn. You refuse to give the illusion your fear. You refuse to believe the drama. You sit in the absolute silence of your own knowing, completely untouchable, waiting with bored amusement for the final scene to naturally unfold. When you finally master this profound level of apathy, when you completely sever the emotional cord that connects your internal state to the dead external mirror, something incredibly violent and beautiful happens in the quantum field. You completely collapse the illusion of time. The universe is a mechanical system that operates on the fuel of your attention. As long as you are reacting to your poverty, the universe is forced to continually rebuild the walls of your prison, brick by brick, second by second, to perfectly match your terrified assumption. Your fear is the cement that holds the poverty together. But the exact second you completely withdraw your reaction, the exact microsecond you look at the terrifying illusion and feel absolutely nothing, the cement instantly dissolves. The old reality suddenly finds itself entirely starved of oxygen. Without your emotional reaction to sustain it, the massive, terrifying wall of your financial debt simply collapses into dust. It shatters, it disintegrates, and because the universe absolutely abhors a vacuum, the massive empty space left behind by your collapsed poverty must instantly be filled by the new dominant state of your consciousness. Because you have been silently, arrogantly occupying the state of the multimillionaire in your imagination, the quantum field has no choice but to violently rush in and materialize that wealth in the physical world. The mirror, having lost the image of the terrified beggar, is suddenly forced to reflect the cold, unbothered face of the monarch. This is the exact moment when the massive, unexplainable financial windfalls occur. This is when the sudden business opportunities hunt you down. This is when the money drops into your lap, from sources you could never have logically predicted. The wealth arrives with explosive, terrifying speed, simply because you finally stopped fighting the old reflection and allowed the mirror to update itself. You did not force the money to come. You simply stopped feeding the illusion of its absence. You have now reached the absolute zenith of this masterclass. The heavy, agonizing burden of the physical world has been completely lifted off your shoulders. You are no longer a victim of the dead mirror. You are no longer a slave to the printed receipt. You have been entirely absolved of the pathetic requirement to cry over your physical circumstances. I want you to take a deep, slow breath and feel the immense, silent power that is currently vibrating in your chest. You are the sole, undisputed, operant power of your entire universe. The three-dimensional world is a dead, sterile playground, and you are the only source of life. The numbers on your bank screen are just meaningless pixels. The bills in your mailbox are just dead wood. They cannot hurt you. They cannot stop you. They cannot even touch you unless you grant them permission through your own fear. You have permanently revoked that permission. You have stripped the physical world of its false authority, and you have placed the heavy, solid gold crown of the Creator firmly back on your own head. You will never again look at your physical circumstances and ask them for permission to feel wealthy. You will never again wait for the mirror to smile first. You have mastered the psychopathic apathy of the billionaire. You are completely emotionally dead to the illusion of lack, and you are completely, vibrantly alive to the absolute reality of your own infinite wealth. If you have absorbed the frequency of this masterclass, your consciousness has been permanently altered. You can never go back to being the terrified, reactive human being who shakes in fear at the sight of an electric bill. You know the absolute truth of the dead mirror, and you know the supreme power of your own apathy. But to permanently lock this arrogant, untouchable identity into the physical matrix of your reality, and to issue your final, irreversible command to the quantum field, you must take one last physical action. You must leave a permanent, undeniable signature on the fabric of the universe that proves you have officially stopped reacting to the ghost of your past. I want you to step fully into the quiet, terrifying power of the ultimate creator. I want you to scroll down to the comments section directly below this video. I want you to type these exact words with the cold, psychopathic certainty of a ruler who knows that the entire physical world is nothing but a delayed reflection of their own mind. Do not type it with hope. Do not type it with excitement. Type it with the absolute crushing boredom of a god stating a basic, undeniable fact of existence. Type, I own the psychopath mindset. The mirror obeys my apathy. Let the physical movement of your fingers typing those words be the absolute final moment you ever acknowledge the illusion of poverty. Make the declaration right now. I own the psychopath mindset. The mirror obeys my apathy. The illusion is dead. The physical world is yours to command. Go enjoy the massive wealth that is already sitting in your hands.